Good day, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. President Biden just confirmed that there will be a stimulus package in 2022, and they will include direct stimulus payments. Let's roll the clip and see what President Biden said.
But I'm convinced we're going to get this done. I'm convinced we're going to get it done. We're not going to get $3.5 trillion. We'll get less than that, but we're going to get it. And we're going to come back and get the rest.
So President Biden is conceding that Joe Manchin is going to get his way, and this stimulus package that they're working on now, the American Family Stimulus Plan, will be less than $3.5 trillion. But he went on to say that we're going to keep coming. And he has confirmed that what he means by that is another stimulus package in 2022. Now, what does this mean for the current stimulus package, and what does it mean for the next one? Are we getting stimulus checks? When are we getting them? And what exactly is going on? Well, first of all, Congress is working on the two stimulus packages right now, the Infrastructure Plan and the American Family Stimulus Plan. Those are both expected to be done hopefully by December. Pelosi says by the end of October, but most likely they will be done in December. Now, Bernie Sanders is still trying to include a $1,000 stimulus check for seniors, and we also have some progressive Democrats pushing for a $2,000 stimulus check as well. Now, President Biden said in this speech that whatever doesn't make it into the current stimulus plan, they're going to try and include in the next stimulus package in 2022. So this means we're going to most likely have a push for whatever stimulus checks don't make it into the current package. There will most likely be a push to have them in the next one. So if we get $1,000 stimulus checks now but don't get the $2,000 stimulus check, that could end up in the next stimulus package, or at least Democrats will be pushing for it. Now, of course, there's always the fact that President Biden promised to increase Social Security benefits, so we're hoping that we'll make it in the 2022 stimulus package as well, because it's looking like it's not going to make it in the current stimulus package. President Biden gave a speech promoting his two stimulus packages, and I'll quickly give you the highlights of what he said. First of all, this stimulus package is going to be reduced. It's not going to be the full $3.5 trillion. Secondly, he confirmed that there will be a stimulus package in 2022, and they're going to push to include whatever doesn't make it into this current stimulus plan. And the list of things that they're trying to include now is the $1,000 stimulus checks for seniors, $2,000 as a fourth round of stimulus checks, and even some progressives pushing for the $200 per month stimulus for those who are on Social Security benefits, SSI, SSDI, and VA benefits. President Biden also went on to say that one of the most likely things that will probably be removed from this current stimulus plan is free community college for 2 years, and they'll try and include that in the next one as well. There's also a chance that they might reduce the child tax credit, either reducing the amount that parents get per month or reducing the amount of years that it will last, and again, trying to include the rest of that in the next stimulus plan. He also recapped the fact that the rich are going to pay for this stimulus plan, and it is going to have a net deficit cost of zero, meaning that all of this will be paid for by taxing everyone who makes over $400,000 per year, and he solidified the fact that if you make less than that, your taxes are not going to increase at all. At least that's what he said in his campaign, and he's reiterating that plan right now. Now, as far as stimulus checks, we've talked about it multiple times on this channel. There is a growing belief that Democrats have realized that the more they approve stimulus checks, the greater their chances are of getting reelected. We have so much data that shows that this is true. So experts think that President Biden is saying, hey, we're going to do a smaller bill now, then we're going to do another one in 2022 because those midterm elections are coming up next year in November. So most likely Democrats will try and do another stimulus check next year right before those elections so they can try and get reelected in the House and the Senate to make sure they can maintain control of both chambers for the last 2 years of President Biden's presidency. So overall, this is really, really good news for stimulus, and honestly really good news for Social Security benefits as well, because it doesn't look like a permanent Social Security increase is going to make it in this current stimulus plan. So the fact that we have confirmation that there will be another stimulus plan next year gives us hope that Social Security increases could end up in that next stimulus package. President Biden just gave a speech promoting his current stimulus packages, the Physical Stimulus Plan and the American Family Stimulus Plan. So let's take a look and see what President Biden had to say, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Things aren't the same as they were. But these bills are about strengthening the economy for decades to come. Both of these bills spend out over 10 years. Take the infrastructure bill. All those investments in roads, bridges, highways, high-speed internet, water, clean water. Everything to represent less than 0.5% of our economy each year if you add it all up over these years. And the cost of the Build Back Better bill in terms of adding to the deficit is zero. So when I hear people say it costs 3.5 trillion, and be honest with you, we're probably not going to get 3.5 trillion this year. We're going to get something less than that. But I'm going to negotiate it. I'm going to get it done with the grace of God and the goodwill of neighbors and the creek not rising, as my grandpa would say. But all kidding aside, we're going to keep coming. And because the more we demonstrate it works, the more we can do. It's paid for because big corporations and the very wealthy ought to start paying their fair share. Let me be clear. Nobody, since I got elected, and when I was campaigning, nobody who makes under $400,000 a year, which is a lot of money, will see their taxes go up one single penny. Nobody. Not one. That's why in the highway bill I didn't add gas tax. So I keep that commitment. In fact, this plan cuts taxes for working people. There's no reason why, as I said, billionaires should pay a lower tax rate, literally a lower tax rate, than a school teacher and a firefighter, a couple. So that's what's happening now. It isn't right that 55 of our Fortune 400 companies, the largest companies in America, last year, 55 of the Fortune 500 paid zero in taxes. And they made $40 billion in profit. I'm glad they made a profit. Keep people employed. I mean that sincerely. But pay your fair share. Just pay a decent portion of what we lay out in this piece of legislation. And by the way, I've had a number of Fortune 500 companies come to me and say, you're right, we can pay a higher tax than we're paying now. Because they understand the impact if we don't invest like we have to on their long-term health and well-being. This needs to change. Working folks understand it. That's why, despite the attacks and misinformation, my plan still has the overwhelming support of the American people when they're told what's in it. They understand that when families have a little more breathing room, America has a lot better shot. My dad used to say, for real, my dad was a well-read, well-bred man who was regretted his whole life he never got a chance to go to college. And he worked like heck. He'd always come home for dinner and then go back to work. And I remember we lived in a four-bedroom split-level home with 4 kids and a grandpa. And you know, my bed was against the wall where my parents' bed was against the adjacent wall. I remember one night, I could tell my dad was just so restless. I was in high school. The next morning I asked my mom, I said, what's the matter with Dad, Mom? He said, well, honey, his company just told him I was going to do away with health insurance. No health insurance. Well, you know what? My dad's, we weren't poor. My dad made probably an average in those days $22,000, $25,000 a year, which is a decent salary. But he used to say, everybody's entitled to just a little bit of breathing room. Just a little bit. A little bit of breathing room. You know, they know this is about dignity and respect. It's about building this economy from the bottom up and the middle out. I've never seen a time, and some of you may have, beyond my colleagues in the Congress, the press may have your master's or doctorate degrees in economics. Name me a single time in American history when the middle class was doing well that the wealthy didn't do very, very well. Name me a time. One single time in American history. So we're not hurting anybody, we're just making sure everybody gets a shot. Let me close with this. This is not hyperbole. The world is watching. Autocrats believe that the world is moving so rapidly that democracies cannot generate consensus quickly enough to get things done. Not a joke. I've had hours and hours and hours of meetings and personal conversations with Xi Jinping. I spent more time with him, I believe, than any other world leader has when I was vice president and now on the phone. Every time he calls or we talk on this, it's a conversation between an hour and a half and 2.5 hours. Not a joke, my word. But he doesn't think democracies can compete because they can't react quickly enough. In my summit with Putin, Switzerland, they're betting democracies can't compete. We can't move quickly enough. I'm heading to the G20. Came back from the G7. You know how they measure? They don't measure us based on the size of our military. They don't measure us on how much power we have that way. They want to know, can we get anything done? Not a joke. And many of you travel internationally. Can we get anything done? Can you put anything together to get something done in America? So folks, they're betting that we won't respond to this inflection point in history. But I've always said, I mean, some of you guys who work with me know this, I've said 1,000 times, it's never a good bet to bet against the American people. Never a good bet. So it's time for us to invest in ourselves. Show the world that American democracy works. We've always led the world not by the example of our physical power, but by the power of our example. That's why the world has followed. And given us that half a chance, there's not a single solitary thing that we can achieve if we do it together. So I'm hopeful. There's a lot of questions the press is going to want to ask me, I know, about how are the negotiations going and how we're going to get this done and so on. Well, I told you before what my neurosurgeon years ago said when I had that aneurysm. He said, your problem, and that was then a senator, your problem, Senator, is you're a congenital optimist. But I'm convinced we're going to get this done. I'm convinced we're going to get it done. We're not going to get $3.5 trillion. We'll get less than that, but we're going to get it. And we're going to come back and get the rest. So I want to thank you all, and God bless you. And I know you're asking about President Clinton. I've been exchanging calls. He seems to be, God willing, doing well. And so when I talk to him, I'll let you all know. But in the meantime, thank you for taking the time to be here. And I say this again, the press heard me say it, for all you elected officials, it's like a busman's holiday for you. Come to have to listen to another politician speak. But I am really, and I mean this without exception, I'm so proud to be associated with each one of you. You're honorable, decent, smart women and men, and there's a lot we can get done. So thank you very much.